So what are you gonna do? Hello? Are you just there alone? You haven't found anyone? Classic. Well, you can ring anybody's bell and get what you want. Cause after all this, I don't wonder how we got this. Living in a bubble. And it's funny, you can't count on no one. Sugar. 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 Shoop. Good. Good, 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 good. Hello. Should I move this blanket? Get out of here. Oh, now I feel unsupported in the butt area. Come back here. I'm sorry. Too small for this chair. Hello. Good morning. Welcome to my kitchen corner. It's been cloudy in LA for like the past week, which sucks because I love sunny mornings, but it's just gonna be cloudy. Sometimes it's okay for it to be cloudy outside. Everything's fine. Anyways, welcome to my kitchen corner. Today I'm going to be painting my nails and just talking off the top of my head about something that you guys have really been wanting to know about, which is college applications. I don't have notes for any of these things, and I'm not a college expert in the slightest. I was waitlisted by almost every single school that I applied to, so take all of my advice and all of my words with a grain of salt. Don't even know what that means. Why a grain of salt? What does salt, like, why? I'm a college student. I should know this. But I felt like I really needed to talk about this because a lot of you guys have been asking me, like, what did I get on my standardized testing, and what were my grades, and what did I do in high school, and how did I get into Uclae? I'm in my PJs, and I don't have notes or anything, so like, if this is a little disoriented and weird, I apologize. If you're looking for actual college advice, ask someone who actually knows college. So the number one question I get asked the most is, what did I get on my SAT and my ACT, and like, what were my grades and stuff like that. I'm gonna be real honest with y'all, those tests really don't matter as much as public schools like to make you think that they do. They actually barely matter. I think that the public education system has really failed us in the sense that they gave us a very incorrect idea of how these college admissions work and how to get into like all the top schools. My whole life, I was always preached that well-rounded students get into the best schools, you know? You gotta be good at everything, master of none, but competent at everything at least. And I'm here to tell you that that is a gosh darn lie. The reality of the American education system is that it's rigged. It's hecka rigged. And there are so many more factors that go into someone's acceptance or rejection than you know. In fact, your grades and your essays are like maybe 50% of the reason why you get into a school. But there are so many more factors that go into it that you don't know, and it usually has a lot to do with money. I went to a public high school, like most of you guys did, a good old-fashioned American high school. And in that high school, I was told if I work hard, and if I get good grades, and if I do everything on earth, and do community service, and sports, and music, and arts, and become a mathematician, that I will get into any school that I want, that I can get into Harvard and Stanford, all those things. It's something that I think all public school students have heard their whole lives. You know, we were always told that that's how you get into an amazing school. But the truth is, most of the kids that get into schools like that, the Ivy Leagues and a lot of like the big schools, NYU, USC, a lot of those kids are preparatory school students. I didn't even know about preparatory schools until about 2 years ago. Preparatory schools are basically these private schools that families who have enough money send their kids to these schools, and these schools basically guarantee that these kids are going to get into amazing schools. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's just really obvious that the American education system absolutely favors the wealthy. All those like success stories that you hear about, those kids that like come from nothing and had to like work their way up, that's like the tiniest population of these schools. Those are the kids that are used to redeem these schools. But in reality, most of the kids at these major schools are not those stories. Don't get me wrong, there are students that get into amazing schools that come from nothing. It's so doable and it's so achievable if you really put your mind to it, but it's a small percentage of kids. In reality, most of the kids that get into these schools come from private schools that basically ensure that if you send your kid to it and if you give them lots of money, that they will get into Harvard, Stanford, etc., etc. That aside, I just rambled a long time for how rigged the American school system is. It's still possible to get into an amazing school, even if you didn't go to a preparatory school. I went to a crappy public school in the middle of Texas and I got into UCLA, so it's doable. Trust me, it is doable. But it happens differently than you expect. In order to get into an amazing school, you really have to stand out in one field in particular. My SAT and ACT scores were low. They weren't low on the rank of national rankings, but with my SAT and ACT scores, I shouldn't have gotten into UCLA. I'm way below average. On the SAT, I got a 1290 out of 1500 or 1600. I don't really remember what the ranking is. I think it's 1600 right now. Let me check. SAT ranking out of 1600. On a national ranking, that's pretty average, but at UCLA, that's below average. And on the ACT, I got a 26 out of 34. I don't even know. I hate standardized testing. I'm terrible at it. Basically what I'm trying to say is I didn't do well on my standardized tests, but I still got in. Why, you ask? For one thing, I had a very, very high GPA. My GPA was a 3.2. That was weighted because I took a few AP classes, but completely aside from that, I technically was not smart enough to get into this school. I know for a fact that the only reason why I was able to get into this school was down to two things: location and my insane essays. Once applications came out, I got waitlisted by a lot of schools, but UCLA in particular gives you the opportunity to submit a supplemental essay, which is basically just like an extra application that you can fill out. And the essay prompt was nothing. It was just like, tell us about your life. Tell us how life has changed in the past 4 months. Just tell us about anything. I, in particular, had a very, very rough experience, kind of the last leg of my senior year, and it's something I've never talked about on here before, and it's something I don't know if I'll really ever talk about. It's something really personal. Definitely the hardest thing I've ever had to go through in my whole entire life. And so I wrote about that in my essay, and that essay was insane. And I'm so sure that that's the essay that got me into UCLA. I know it within my soul. In order to get into a really amazing school, you have to kind of shock these people. I was fortunate enough to have a very shocking story that really caught the attention of these people. I'm gonna paint my nails blue, by the way. It's so funny because, you know, our whole lives at public schools, we're always told, do everything that you can possibly do. Spread yourself out so thin that you're barely making it through all these things. You're getting A's in all your classes, but you're not a master at anything. It's something that we're always told. It was something we were told our whole entire lives, but that's not even true anymore. Of course, it always helps to have good grades. I would urge all of you guys who are about to apply to schools, focus on your grades. They really do matter. But the thing that really gets you into a school is when you have something that really differentiates you from other students, that gives you a really specific purpose to get accepted into a school. This really only applies to really hard schools to get into though, but you have to have something that really shines. And I guarantee there is something in each and every one of you that will make you shine, that will make you that perfect student to accept into a school. You just have to find it, and it's so tough. I totally am with you. It's a tough thing. It's kind of hard to explain, but I'm going to use a weird analogy to explain it. A lot of these biggest schools would much rather accept the world's best chess player who has good grades, not amazing grades, but good grades, than accept someone who has great grades all across the board, but doesn't really have a massive passion, doesn't really have something that really shines. I'm the world's best jump roper or something like that. I don't think that schools would accept you just for jump roping, but you kind of like get what I'm saying. They want a kid who really excels in one thing, like is amazing in art or amazing at math, then have a kid who's just kind of like mid-A grades all across the board, but not really clearly exemplifying some kind of massive passion. For me, my passion was music, and I wrote about music in all of my essays. I wrote about making videos in all of my essays. I wrote about my life in all of my essays because I had a pretty rocky childhood, and that was enough to get me into my dream school. UCLA was my top choice, and it was basically my only choice. I did not have incredible, amazing SAT scores. I just didn't. I'm not good at standardized testing, and these days, colleges don't really care too much. It's not like the #1 deciding factor when it comes to accepting a kid. So if your SAT scores aren't that good, and if you're not the valedictorian of your high school or anything like that, don't worry, there's still a very high chance that you can get into an amazing school. You just have to really show the school why you, specifically, are going to have a very important role in a college. Something that a lot of people don't really know is that when colleges accept students, location is actually a really important player in this game. When a college accepts a student, that student's acceptance is supposed to represent the entire community that they live in. Meaning, they're not gonna accept like 35 students from the same small town, because they don't need to. They need to accept one student from this town, one student from a town over there, one student from a town over there, because these colleges are trying to spread their influence and spread their impact as far across the globe as they possibly can. So when I was accepted into UCLA, which I was the only kid in my school who got accepted, I was the representative for probably the whole entire region of Texas that I lived in. At UCLA so far, I only know one other kid who is close to me, but he lives like an hour away from me. I'm sure there's a few more. Location is a really important player, and a student who is so much better than me in every single way possible, but lives in a massive city and has a lot more competition, has a lower chance of getting accepted into a big school than I was, because I was from a small town and it was more necessary for the school to accept me as a representative than them, because they have other representatives. The school has already accepted students from that town. I think that the public education system for the past kind of 15 years has really not given us the full story behind college acceptances, and you can read up about it. It's actually mind-blowing the way that they rationalize accepting students. There's so much more that goes into it than your grades. There's so much more that goes into it than your extracurriculars. They even predict what your role in these schools are gonna be. These major schools want to accept kids that are high impact. They want to accept kids that are going to further the name of their school. They don't want to accept a kid who is going to end up kind of dissipating. If you are a student right now who has dreams of getting into a massive school that is super, super tough to get into, give it your best gosh darn shot. Show the school why you're special. Show the school why you as an individual are going to change the student population. Everyone on earth is unique. Everyone on earth is special. And you just have to see it in yourself. You have to see why you're a good student there. Because I guarantee that all of you guys have something that's really going to make you stand out. Of course, get good grades. That's always good. Colleges never decline students because they have too good of grades. But with that being said, I would focus on what makes you a very special student, because I believe that every single student is a special student. You just have to find a way to market yourself as that. You have to find a way to show these colleges that you are. I'm gonna finish painting my nails. I got this new star glitter, and so I think I'm gonna put them on. Here's the grand reveal. Again, all of these things that I'm talking about with college, they're things that I've learned from the past year of like really talking to the student body that got accepted into UCLA and talking to other students who got accepted into other big schools. I'm not an expert. I'm not an admissions person. How would I really know what goes on behind these doors? But the more and more I'm here at this school, the more I'm realizing that the students that get into these schools, they're unique. They're unique, and they find a way to show the school that they are. The ones from small towns and humble beginnings are a small population of the kids that get accepted into these schools, but it's still doable, and it's so doable, and I did it, and I didn't think that I could do it, but I did it, and you can do it, and what's the point in not at least giving it a shot? The worst that can happen is you'll get rejected, but like, you know, that's alright. We can deal with a little bit of rejection every once in a while. That was a little bit of a dark note to end on. You can do this. I believe in you. My heart goes out to everyone applying to colleges right now. It was very tough. I was very terrified, but everything worked out. If there's anyone who has insight about their college application process, please feel free to tell me in the comments below, because I'm sure that other people who are applying right now would love a little bit of insight and a little bit of reassurance, because the things that we've been told by the high schools is mostly wrong. Sorry to break it to you. I've been talking for a long time. I'm going to go. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you guys in 1 week with a brand new one. God bless, and goodbye, and good luck.